The following program was paid for and made possible through a United States Department of Agriculture 2015 Value Added Producers Grant. Our mission here at the Texas Grass-Fed Association is to promote the production and consumption of Texas grass-fed beef. In our research of how different producers bring grass-fed beef to market, we couldn't help but notice the fine work Burgundy Pasture Beef of Grandview, Texas has done in this arena. They are the only producers in Texas, not to mention possibly the whole country, whose operation is vertically integrated, meaning they raise and produce their own beef, do their own processing, and market their beef in their own retail stores. It's been years of hard work, but through their insistence on the quality and integrity of their product, Burgundy has developed a fine reputation and a strong, loyal following in the Dallas-Fort Worth grass-fed market. Meet John and Wendy Taggart, owners of Burgundy Pasture Beef.
In 1999 is when we made the decision to head towards the grass-fed product, and we finished a few cattle that first year. But it was a learning curve.
We started out, we just at the ranch. We would have a couple of head processed. We home delivered. That was our way to get meat to people in town. And we put a website out there, and people just, had to email us and say what they wanted. And we started out selling 20-pound mixed cut packages because I realized pretty quick that, you get a lot less steaks than you get ground beef, so we had to solve that issue. I look at it as a very consumer-driven business. I mean, we're not taking our information to produce from the commercial industry or from even restaurants or really even grocery stores. We're taking it directly from consumers that are purchasing to prepare foods in their home. And it's part of the reason that we've decided to vertically integrate down to a retail store.
We have to provide beef year-round. People want that product year-round, so we had to adapt our grazing management to where we can harvest beef off this ranch every week, and we've done that. My philosophy on grazing management is pretty simple. Before we got here, the Great Plains were here, and it was one of the most well-managed grasslands on the planet, and there weren't any inputs going into that. It was the buffalo, it was the Native Americans, and it was grass. And that system was designed to work by a power a lot bigger than we are, and it was put here by Mother Nature and the Lord to work, and it did. The normal migration of the buffalo is what we mimic here. As those buffalo moved through the seasons, they came in, they ate the grass down, they tore up the surface, they put seed into the ground, and then they moved on.
We're part of the Southern Great Plains. I mean, there is just, if you're in Burgundy, France, the wine's fabulous. If you're in the Southern Great Plains, the grass-fed beef ought to be over and above just about anything you get anyplace else, because the land, the environment is superbly adapted for herbivore grazing animals to produce really good food.
You have to give these cattle enough time and enough nutrition to take advantage of the genetics that you've invested in. And so they have to be finished, and that takes a lot of time and therefore a lot of money. Because the cattle, when we harvest here, are going to be pretty close to 2 years. And so you've had money in them, and you've had management, and you've had ranch expense in them for 2 years before you ever realize income coming back off those animals. So they've got to have the staying power financially to get to the point where cash flow takes in. We have maintained a philosophy that we're going to be grass-fed and 100% grass-fed. I think there's product out there that may be represented as being 100% grass-fed, but it's not. These cattle, from the day they're born till the day they leave this ranch, are on grass and strictly grass. It's 100%. And that's a challenge that a lot of people cannot overcome to get in this business. And We work at it really hard.
Integrity is critical. For me personally, because I'm more involved in the cutting of making different cuts, choosing, you know, what we should do, how we should do that, presenting it, what it's going to look like and what that cut is when it actually goes into someone's kitchen to prepare it. I'm very particular about what those cuts are and you know, the tenderness and the quality and all the attributes that you want in a really nice experience at the dinner table.
For somebody to get in this business as vertically integrated as we are, it would be difficult because we literally go pasture to plate. So we start out here with this grass resource, manage this grass resource, procure the cattle that are genetically adapted for this region and for this process that we use. Then they come off of here and then they go into our processing. We have to process them, and then we're in the retail business. We deal direct with our customers. We tell them our story and try to let them know how this whole process works and where this product comes from, because people more and more now are interested in knowing where their food came from.
My love and desire is that we produce a 100% grass-fed product from birth to slaughter, and additionally no antibiotics, no hormones, and no pesticides or herbicides on the pastures. And to me, that's what I would call a completely natural product.
And so we have stayed true to that philosophy that's 100% finished on grass. We are a purist, and we're not ever going to deviate from that belief. That's what we're going to stay. And if that limits somewhat what we can do, so be it.
Grass-fed is what I would call a cottage industry. It's really was conceived of, and farmers and ranchers began to do that when consumers demanded that. So there's a lot of infrastructure that's missing in the end where you would get it to the consumer, however you do that. There's a lot of infrastructure. There's very limited resource for people raising animals, where they get it cut and packaged, depending on how they're going to sell it.
If it was going to be a fad, we wouldn't have been doing it for the last 17 years. The fad would have already played out, and we would have already been out of business.
The small-scale nature of the business, the cottage industry part, it doesn't invite efficiency. And that's typically how products come into the market and evolve. I mean, some of it might take them 100 years to evolve to the point where everybody can partake in that product.
As far as the future in grass-fed beef and grass-fed beef production, there's a lot of ranchers and producers out there that just want to produce the product. And they have the knowledge to do it, they've got the resources to do it, but they just don't want to market. So, I mean, I see a future for Burgundy Pasture beef remaining strong because we are marketers, we are retailers. And that's a segment that a lot of people don't want to go into. They don't want to deal with the consumer in Dallas, Texas, or in Fort Worth, Texas, or in Houston, Texas. So we serve a service to them there where they can produce a high quality product that the consumer's looking for, and we'll take it from there and we'll sell it.
My love and desire is that we produce a 100% grass-fed product from birth to slaughter, and additionally no antibiotics, no hormones, and no pesticides or herbicides on the pastures. And to me, that's what I would call a completely natural product. I mean, one of the reasons in a direct retail environment, people coming to buy, what I realized pretty quickly was that people don't just eat beef, it's a lifestyle philosophy that they're making these food choices based upon. They want meats that are naturally raised, natural habitat, natural diet. We've partnered with some other regional producers for chicken, for pork, for lamb, that kind of thing, because we want to offer all those. And actually, hopefully, it's good for our business where someone comes in and they're looking for a pasture-raised chicken, and they buy some beef while they're there, or vice versa. So I think if you give people that type of selection, that hopefully you build a bigger customer base.